Hi, I'm Lachlan from Kashy, and today we're going through the full procedure of doing the follow-ups on Erin's Hyundai Elantra. Let's do the intake pipe first because that's easy. Just 10mm socket on a implement that turns a nut, and then we'll probably just pop the airbox off because that'll make it a little bit easier. There we go, give us a little more room. Why is this so tight? There we go. We couldn't get this pipe in locally, which kind of sucks. Oh my god, and the old one is just glued on there too. You see this?
Was that a factory one?
No, it was, but it's like, because it's heated up and cooled down so much, it's actually just gone to goop and died. Just died a horrible death. That is gross. I don't think I've ever seen one quite fall apart like that.
Could you give us any reasons why this kind of damage may happen?
Yeah, I guess the silicon pipe is probably made up of some sort of petrochemical, like everything else in the world. And as such, if you've got like oil vapor coming back in from your PCV, then it's going to slowly degrade that over time, which, you know, probably a bit of an oversight actually. Like, why would you use a petrochemical compound anywhere that petrochemicals live? You know what might actually help? More petrochemicals.
We love a good spray cleaner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we love a good spray cleaner.
Oh yeah, look at that. Should have done that from the start. That with a rag.
There we go. Tips for people at home.
Ugh. See, look at that.
Well done.
That's wild. Wouldn't have expected it to like...
I feel like brake cleaner just solves everyone's problems.
Yeah. Just don't like go in an enclosed space with too much of it. Now we don't have to be perfect here, we just have to be good enough. Hope this is the same pipe. Does look like it. You know, when you're having, let's say, not customer issues, but like communication issues with someone, it really affects your standing overall, which it sucks, but nothing to do about that right now.
Sometimes you've just got to have a little bit of patience, because the reason why you're in business is because people don't know how to fix cars or don't understand the deal with cars.
Yeah, I think more often than not, problems in my life come from communication errors, which is just something that you've got to see how nice and soft this is compared to this.
Yeah. Did the other one go hard?
Yeah.
That's why it cracked.
Heat. Yeah, probably. Jesus. That and the heat and the sun this week's been very rough. Goodbye.
On the topic of miscommunications with customers, do you have any advice to any mechanics out there on how to deal with these situations?
If you didn't know anything about cars, how would you feel being told that someone couldn't, like something wasn't going to work out the way you expected it, or, you know, whatever? You'd feel pretty rough. Which is fair. And, you know, the best way to have good customer service is to come from a point of trying to understand that person's troubles. Nice and tight, just make sure that it's not going to wiggle off. This is a pretty simple job. This is a home gamer job for sure.
So you just screw a couple of screws and that's it?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's all any car is, actually. So it's just how comfortable you are putting screws in and taking screws out and remembering where they came from. That's the biggest thing. For example, like, what's missing in this situation? Can you think of it? It's all back together, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's a clip we dropped on the ground before.
Oh, true.
Where's the park light bulbs? Behind the headlight. Are they behind the headlight or under the headlight? Oh, your headlight bulbs are starting to fail. Very strange.
They're brand new.
And they're very expensive ones too.
How do you know that they're failing?
Look at the back of this connector. They've started falling apart a little bit.
I'm a little bit saddened by that.
Yeah, I am too. But that's alright. That's something we can bring up with the supplier as a potential warranty claim. Is this side the same? This side is the same.
Oh, you're kidding.
Maybe there's something going on with the heat. Maybe we can go back to standard headlight bulbs or something.
Yeah, you can get good quality ones, hey, that are pretty bright.
Yeah, it's really strange. How do these come out?
So I guess if we can't get these done under warranty, we can just go back to standard headlights.
Yeah, but we want to try for warranty because these were expensive to start with.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I don't want to buy another set if the same thing's going to happen again.
Interested about how these park light bulbs come out. Because I can hardly get my fingers in there. They're not just a twist and go.
What would be your recommendation for a good set of halogen headlights?
A name brand.
So like Philips maybe?
Yeah, Philips are good. Narva's okay.
Mhm.
How hard are these headlight assemblies to pull out?
Our poor car's really having some surgical procedures today.
You know what's bothersome? All that's apart and I still can't see how these blasted Parkers do. Well, it's a lot more simple than expected. Oh, you can, when we put this back in, I'll show you the because originally when we put this on, we wouldn't have had the connector on the back. So there's no way that would have gotten in the way. So I'm like a bit curious as to why that's being a thing. There we go. That looks nice, doesn't it?
Just to recap, if you guys weren't with us last time, one of my park lights were out, so we're replacing both of them because the other one is probably not far from going out. Obviously not the most important repair, as you're not always using your park lights, but...
Hardly ever, but it's still a legal requirement, right?
Yep, sure is. I don't like turning them on because sometimes I forget that it's just my park lights on, and then I'm driving and I realise my headlights aren't on, so I don't like using them.
Well, actually, every time your headlights are fully on, the park lights are still on as well.
Yeah, I know that. But you know when you stop at the side of the road and you turn your headlights off so you don't blind people?
Yeah. There we go. It's one. We're being real stupid about these as well.
What do you mean?
See that? That really bums me out.
The damage.
This one might actually be dead. I'll have to check that.
I haven't noticed any issues with them.
We're being really stupid with these park lights. They just pull out, but they're extra tight because they've been in there for an age.
Yeah, I've never had to replace them. Who knows when the owner before it had to replace them last.
Park lights, headlights are surprisingly okay to change. I've done a few park lights in the last week that have been like really difficult. Like you got to take off the wheel liner to get at it. Which seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah. No, it's a good thing headlights are easy to change because I feel like they go out the most.
I've put that in the wrong way up.
When my housemate's headlights went out, I was easily able to help him replace them because they're pretty similar. He drives a Kia Sorento, which is pretty similar to
Just a bit newer.
my Elantra. I think it's 6 years newer than mine.
Alright. Job 2. We'll just check they work and then we'll confirm that the headlights don't. That's the parkers.
Parks are working? Oh no. Is that actually dead?
Left side doesn't work.
I reckon.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's alright.
I'm bummed. That's annoying. I actually have my older halogens that I can put in.
What?
For the time being.
Both of them.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe let's do that. Where are they?
They should be in my glove box, or no, they might be in my boot.
Watch, they'll work. Just like that.
Alrighty.
I've fixed them.
Oh, look at that. They appear to both be working.
Great. On to the next thing. On to the next
I'm
one.
gonna miss my LEDs. Rip.
Rip you. Do the headlight clean last, because that's not situation critical.
Rightio. I'm kind of keen for this because previously when I've had CV shafts and all this kind of stuff replaced on my old car, I never got to see it actually happen.
Yeah.
Because I had to replace the CV shafts on my Gets.
I tried to make a joke.
Huh?
I tried to make a joke about tyres once, but it didn't really work.
Oh, okay.
These are called split pins. Basically stop the nut from coming back off. So we're going to attempt to gently remove them. Just in case we need to reuse them. Sometimes it's easier if you've got one tool in your hand to just walk back and forth and do.
To do each step on both sides.
Yeah, that's why I'm doing it like this today.
That makes sense.
Now this is where we're going to have some extra noise again. So I've just taken off the lower ball joint. We're actually going to replace the lower ball joints as a part of replacing the lower control arms. So it makes a bit of sense to go through and grab that out straight away. What we might do, just for ease, because the right hand shaft here is sort of sitting in the way of the bolt for the lower control arm, is we'll pull the shaft out as much as we can, maybe get it out of this end so that we can get onto the nut, onto the bolt for the lower control arm, and then that one just bolts through and there's a nut on top. pulling off the bolts for the lower control arms to give me a little bit more room to get at the CV joints, CV shafts, whatever we want to call them. Make note of which way the bolts go through, obviously. For example, if you pull out the bolt and it's sitting this way, try to make sure it's going back in that way. It, in reality, doesn't make a huge difference, but say if that's related to safety somehow, like they predict that if the lower control arm fails or something and they wanted it to stay in a specific orientation, then we try to accommodate for that. There we go. Side one is removed. Let's see if this drive shaft wants to come out.
I think we also discussed the ball joint and how that is separate.
Yes, the ball joint on this car is a separate piece, but on a lot of cars it is completely attached to the to the front lower control arm, which makes it really easy. But on these it's a separate item, which means that we can undo it here, undo it here, and it comes out of the thing. I replace the lower control arms and ball joints together for a good reason. The good reason being that they all wear out fairly similarly, same as headlights. If you're going to replace one headlight, you may as well replace both, sort of thing. I've just turned the ignition on and off briefly so that I can turn the steering all the way to one side, and that's just allowed me to pull the strut and knuckle slightly further out so I can get to the CV shaft a little bit easier. Oh, here's a cool tip and trick for you. If you're going from one side to the other, you don't need to take all of the tools, take the tools you need.
Good tip. All about ergonomics and manual handling and etc. etc.
Etc. And then when you get over here, make sure you forget half the tools you need. Alright, now back onto this side. I'm going to pull the steering back over a little bit, make life a little bit easier for us on this. Because the drive shaft on this side intersects with the with the lower control arm rear bolt, we're going to attempt to pull the drive shaft out first, and then we're going to attack the rear bolt. Okay? It may not look like that's what I'm doing, because I'm going straight onto the front bolt of the lower control arm, but that's my plan overall. Bit of noise. Also, like, put all your nuts and bolts back together. It hurts no one, and it saves you time. So there was actually there's been a noted problem on some of the Toyota models where they've got, instead of just lower control arms, they've got upper and lower control arms, but the upper control arm bolts or something like that are unable to be removed without removing the entire assembly from the car or something. It's really quite dumb if you ask me, but then again, I'm not an engineer, I'm just the one who has to fix it. We'll come back to that. Didn't break it, but I know when to admit the battle's lost. Oh. There we go. So I pulled the steering out to make it a little bit easier to get at. And then we're going to jump onto the car because we need to pop out the CV joint from the inside. For this particular job, I'm going to make sure that we got down some cardboard because there's a strong possibility that some oil will spill out. And then I'm going to grab a nice, reasonable sized pry bar. This is a Sid Chrome pry bar. It doesn't say it on the box that it comes in, but trust me, it's a pry bar. That's a joke that maybe a mechanic will get. Now I'm under here. What I'm going to do, get my pry bar behind the CV shaft. Just going to work it, popping it out. Sometimes if this doesn't work, we move on to other more extraneous methods. There we go. Popped right out for a change. That's the first one of these that's popped right out for me in like 6 months. Now we're gonna very gently, I said very gently, pull the entire shaft out. Now that that's out of the way, we can actually get to our rear lower control arm bolt as well. Just what we wanted.
So that's the lower controller?
Yeah, now oh, look, remember what we were talking about before, right? Like it's all just nuts and bolts. I've got a test for you, Erin.
Oh dear, I don't like tests.
Tell me where they come from.
I don't know.
And that's why,
I'm not doing this.
yeah, like, it's all nuts and bolts. When you get to the deep of it, it took me until I was a 3rd year apprentice to realise that all cars are nuts and bolts. And computer logic, but we won't get into that. But the difference between a mechanic and someone doing DIY stuff is that I look at that pile of bolts and I'm like, I go lower ball joint, rear bolt, front bolt, hub nut washer, 19mm spanner.
Little question I have for those aspiring to be a mechanic.
Yeah,
How do you do that here in Australia?
you become an apprentice, which is... I've got
Trauma
opinions. No, I've got opinions, right? So, at the moment, the MTAQ, which is the Motor Trades Authority of Queensland, and every other organisation related to mechanics is talking about, I know I'm just going to walk around, which is not helpful.
It's fine.
See that? See the tearing? That's why we replaced them.
Yeah.
And see if I go the other way, see how it's actually started like making one big tear
Yeah.
on each side. So,
Gotcha. Yeah. Kaput.
there's a point of contention for me because if someone said to me, hey, I want to be a mechanic, I'd say, be prepared for not what you want it to be, right? The truth of the matter is most mechanics now are parts fitters. There are a very small amount of us who get to do cool stuff. I'm lucky that I am in the very small percentage where I get to do work on cars that I choose to. And on top of that, a lot of mechanics are... A lot of workshops are not necessarily pleasant places to be. So we've got this industry where, for some really stupid reason, bullying still exists massively. We don't have a union, the pay is bad, so I can give you hundreds of reasons of why not to be a mechanic. It's hard job. It's physical labour. It's a lot more mental capacity than people are expecting as well, to be able to do this job. That said left hand. Oh, we are on the right hand side. Makes sense why that says left hand. It's a lot more mental capacity than you're expecting. The hours are shit. The pay's still quite bad, especially if you're an apprentice. The conditions, like there's an expectation to be X% efficient at everything you do, which is really quite harmful. And it's not, you don't really do the jobs that you want to do until you're qualified, or that sort of stuff, or if you work in a very special kind of workshop, somewhere that does performance stuff. The truth of the matter is, we've got an advertising problem as a trade, where people sort of look at it as a fallback trade for if you don't get into a job that you want to do, or like they're reaching up to it, even though they're not prepared for like the ridiculous amount of mental effort that actually goes into it. So, my advice to people is, being a mechanic is a really cool job, so long as you own it, so long as it's what you want to do, so long as it's the work that you want to do. It's the same as any other job, right?
And qualification-wise, what kind of qualification do you hold?
Oh, that's another point of contention for me. So back to the original question, how do you become a mechanic? In Australia, you either go through an apprenticeship program, or you go through a like a TAFE skills thing. The people that do the TAFE skills thing are regarded as not very good at their job when they come out of it. So apprenticeship is really the way to go. And then you sign up. It's a 4-year thing. It's working in a workshop and going to TAFE on a semi-regular basis. And at the end of your 4 years, you'll get a qualification that says that I'm a mechanic. The pay is stepped for apprentices. So a first year apprentice might be like $13 an hour, which is not livable. It
shouldn't be legal.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. Second year might go up to 15. It's been a couple of years since I've dealt with it. Third year might be 17, 19. And then when I qualified, all I made was like $24 an hour as a casual, and I knew how to do tyre fitting and stuff too, which is often seen as a benefit. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I do love my trade. I like working on cars. I like helping people. I like fixing things. But at the same time, we need to admit as a society that it's not actually a great system at the moment. So, seeing as that's just not budging, we might grab our mallet. Probably should have done that with the rubber one. There we go. So all we're doing now is come around this way a little bit. I was just tapping it so that we could get our joints to sort of sit in the right place. Now I've just got to lift them up and wiggle them around until these bolts line up. So pop that back with my hand.
Do you think someday you'll take on apprentices?
It's not really a part of our business model, And you understand our business model better than other people.
Yeah.
So the way that we work is that we Kashy as a business, let me get that off so it's not making lots of noise. Kashy as a business does all the liaison, all the in-between stuff for mechanics, and then we subcontract to mechanics, and all the mechanic has to do is sort of rock up at your house and do the work to the best of their ability. So really, it's not the way that our business is designed, but it is something that we would consider. And we have had mechanics in the past that work with their apprentice to do particular jobs. So if they've got something interesting on with Kashy, then they'll bring their apprentice on to show them how that system works or something. So one of the guys, Ash, used to take Jeremy out if he had to like do a carburetor kit or something, because that's something you never see in a workshop anymore. There's only like a few workshops in Brisbane area that will even bother taking on a carburetor rebuild.
Do you think Kashy could potentially take on apprentices for simpler jobs, or do they need to be under supervision?
Potentially, yeah. Because that's what they're doing anyway in workshops. But, you know, it's something that long term we'll consider. At the moment, it's just better for us to have some mechanics on. Okay. Now I'm going to get under there, and I'm going to line up the inside of the CV shaft with the hole that it's meant to go into.
If we have any local mechanics in the Brisbane area interested in joining us, feel free to reach out. We'll have our email down below. Or you can visit our website.
She's right there.
And I'll put the link in the bio as well.
Now when you're sitting the drive shaft in, here, pass this to me. Which way you got that? That'll do. When you're sitting the drive shaft in, we want to make sure that the splined section goes straight into the hole so that it doesn't notch the drive shaft seal in any way. And we want to make sure that we're not pushing on the exterior boot or the interior boot here against any sharp things, because what's the reason that we're tearing these, that we're replacing these, Erin?
Because they are tearing.
Yeah, so we don't want to introduce tears before we've even had a chance. So now that's lined up on the inside. So I'm going to, as gently as possible, maybe. You know what? We might do this slightly different. You stay there. Just taking off the brake line to give us a little bit extra like wiggle, so that we're not like stretching anything that we don't have to. Pull it out nice and far. Sit our CV shaft in the thing, gently push down on our lower control arm. Wiggle until that's in, and then we just want to put in our lower ball joint. So I'll probably straighten up the steering a little bit, maybe. There we go, makes it a little bit easier. It's not going to work for me today. There we go. Yeah, I don't think it was seated quite all the way on the inside. I don't like those bolts. We're not using those. We're using the original ones. So, make sure that we can get our that's great. The inner joint still hasn't sat properly. I'll do this slightly different on the other side now that I've had a learning experience.
Would you say every job's just about a learning experience?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I am no smarter than the average man, and in many circumstances I'm probably less smart. Here's the other thing as well, right? Because there'll be someone out there potentially that watches that goes, oh, that's a really stupid way to do that. And you're right. It is. Congratulations. I've got no idea what the best way to do this is, because I've never had to do this before on this car. But part of being a mechanic is figuring out how everything works, how every car goes together.
Do you get many Elantras of this age, this series?
Yeah, plenty for oil changes, but you know, a lot of people nowadays, because money's so tight, they just turn stuff down until they can eventually save up to buy a newer, better car, which is fair. It's so expensive to own a car now that many people just put off doing shit that they don't see as mission critical.
I know you get to do a bit of work on, I think it's the series above this car. That's probably one of the most common Elantras I see on the road.
Yep. What's this one's name?
What one's name? That is that a CV shaft?
Xander.
Xander. Oh, we're actually naming them. That's right. We are twins. Nearly forgot there was a second one.
Only birthed 20 minutes apart.
Welcome to the world, Xander.
What do I want for
Let's
lunch?
have a quick look at you.
Can you name the parts?
Probably not, but I'm gonna guess the plastic thing here. Is this a boot?
Yep.
That's all I can tell you.
Well, if that was a CV
Is this
boot,
the shaft?
yeah,
I only know that because the shaft of a bone is
the
pretty
same.
much the same.
Well, if that's
Yeah.
if that's a CV boot, what would this part be? The bit
This
that
part.
moves, like oscillates like this.
Is that the ball joint?
That's the CV joint.
Well, I was close.
That's the shaft. That is the. On some models, you get a vibration frequency damper. This is the spline drive up here. This is the spline drive on the hub of the vehicle. This is the spline drive on the gearbox of the vehicle. This is the mating surface for the differential drive shaft seal. This is the hub nut. And this is a really interesting piece. You'd like to know more about this?
We're gonna leave that at that.
Yeah, you'd love to. You'd love to know more about that specific ring.
Why is that?
Ah, just because you would. It's got to do with your ABS. This is called a tone ring. So there's a sensor that sits like this in the hub, and it like changes its voltage with electromagnetic interference, right? So every time a high point runs past, there is an amount of electromagnetic interference, and every time a low point goes past, the amount of electromagnetic interference changes. So they know how many splines there are on this. It might be like 35 or 36 would be ideal. And they say, okay, every 36 times we see a tooth go past, that is one turn of a wheel. And if then all of the 3 of the wheels are turning, and then all of a sudden this wheel shows 0 and there's brake pressure, they know that this wheel is locked up. So they release that wheel with the ABS solenoid.
That's cool.
Very clever.
There we go. Fun fact about my ABS, it's been replaced under warranty. If you own a Hyundai...
Yeah, I did that.
Did you have to do one?
I did plenty of them. So see the spline drive up here, where my little pinky's wiggling at the top? Up here. Hello.
Up there.
Hello.
I think I can see it.
So we've got to get that directly centered into that hole and lined up with the splines there. I'll just push that away with my elbow. That's it. Just like that. And then we're going to pop. Well, might just come out and do that
Yeah, it looks really tough.
with a hammer. Just make sure that seats all the way in, which hasn't yet. I would like for that to be out of the way. You feeling handy? Do you want to hold that?
Let's see.
It's heavy.
Yeah, it is.
There we go. That's seated. You saw it go in like a fair bit extra. And then we're going to pull that all the way out. Oh, we're going to stop there for a sec.
Okay.
Because it wants to stretch those brake lines again.
Okay. So
Get that to just politely line up. Alright, everything's back in. Now we're going to go for the control arm itself, which is now burning hot because it's been sitting in the sun. So, when I'm installing CV shafts on the outer spline drive, which is on the hub instead of on the gearbox, I always put a small amount of copperies, anti-seize, that sort of thing, because it prevents the shaft from seizing into the hub long term. So what I do, I grab the shaft, wipe it around, do some inappropriate gestures at it, so that there's grease all up and down the shaft, but only the smallest bit. Doesn't need to be a lot, just a little bit. And then it can be installed in the car. Then we're gonna do something like that. Let's see if we can get this front joint lined up. Really is a bit of a juggling act because I want everything to move. This is probably the worst thing about being on the roadside by yourself, is you want everything to be in just a position and you can't get someone to like just give you a hand with it. That's
do you
alright.
need me to hold anything?
No, I've come to get used to it. So the smaller one goes in the rear on this car.
Okay.
the smaller, like the narrower shank size goes in the rear. The bigger shank size goes in the front. And the two shorter bolts go into the lower ball joint. I might grab my small screwdriver just because I want to line that up, and I know it's not lined up from the bottom. Here's a trick for the old home gamer. The bolt hole is, let me see, slightly misaligned, so I can get in there, Jesus, with the screwdriver and manipulate it until it lines up just the way that I want it to. There we go, see? Lovely. Just gonna tilt this ball joint over a bit so that it lines up easier. One thing that is quite difficult doing the mobile job is trying to use a hammer underneath the car. I am just pulling this control arm down and trying to line it up with the ball joint bolts. Apparently it's much harder than I anticipated. There we go, that's one. And then we just need to manipulate the other into location. Which again, much harder than anticipated. There we go. Now, everything is back on the car, which means that we can start using aggressive methods to tighten everything up. We've made a mistake.
Oh no! Explain this mistake.
We did something that we said we wouldn't. We put the drive shaft back in before we tightened up the lower control arm bolts.
Oh dear. And how are you planning on resolving this mistake?
I don't know. Let's find out. Maybe this will work. Now they say that you should use, that the vehicle should be on like flat level ground anyway when you do up. Just when you tighten up the suspension, because the joints are like rotation. They have a they can sit in one spot, and if they're sort of like out of their place, then they can put like excess force on them. So what we're going to do to maybe resolve this and actually do the thing that we want to do anyway is tighten up the ball joint, jack up on the ball joint, and then once the suspension's flat and level, we might actually be able to get a socket back onto the inside of that. I had a 17mm impact socket around, Erin. What did you do with it, Erin? This is an accusation. Oh, there it is, where I left it. Oh my god, it's a 19. And that is how you overcome a problem. You see what we've done, Erin? Before, the drive shaft angle was too low, so this harmonic dampener was in the way of this bolt. But by raising the suspension height slightly, we've been able to rectify that situation so that we can actually get a socket in there again. Perfect. And now we don't have a 17mm spinner. Yeah, we do. I normally perceive myself as like trying to work in a fairly clean and orderly way. But even so, there is not a day goes by that I don't feel like I've lost something while I'm like at a job and it's taken me way too long to find it. What do you think? Opinions? All of these are tight. Now we're just going to go back over them and make sure that they are all tight, because we don't want any happy accidents. You hear that, children?
Well,
I think that's tight.
Hot.
The new CV joint didn't come with a new cotter pin, which upsets me a great deal. Which is also why I was so gentle about taking the old one out. That's how I like them. So they're neat and tidy, not like so that they can cut you if you install these wrong. They sit up. Well, there's a whole debate system online about how to install split pins the right way, and I'm of the opinion that you should do it sort of like this, so that they end up not in the way of anyone. That's tight. But there are other people out there who believe that just splaying the ends open and leaving them like that is okay, and I think that's kind of like significantly increases the risk of self-injury, because you end up cutting yourself the next time you work on the car. We won't use that one. Do you want to have a go at cotter pins?
What do you mean?
Do you want to give a go?
Yeah, if you can walk me through it and you can film me doing it.
Make it look like that.
Wait, what?
Make it look like this, but it's under here. Right.
What am I doing?
Make that look like the one on the outside.
There's one on the outside?
Yeah, the one I just pointed at. So pull this down, that one down, and all the way over. So you can probably use your hands. Even.
I'll use my hands. Pull it.
All the way over.
That's tough.
Just keep going. No, not that way. That way.
Also, like towards.
Yeah, towards where it came from. Don't cut yourself. That's why I use the side pins, the side cutters normally, and then you can use the side cutters to trim that a little bit.
Trim, as in.
Not all the way down, but we want like, say maybe, sorry, a little further out. Yep, perfect.
Perfect, and then just cut.
Cut. Close your eyes.
Wah.
And then use the V of the side cutters to push that back down on itself.
The V?
Yeah, so you like use the side cutters to push that back all the way down.
This way or down? I don't know.
Oh, I think that's a minor success. Okay, now we're going to tighten up the other side. So we need 19, 19, 17, 'Tight. First and foremost, we need the holes to line up so we can get it through there like that. And I'm on the wrong side, so I'm right-handed, which will make this very difficult.
Maybe this is the side I should have tried.
Maybe.
Because I'm left-handed.
So see how I've pushed that in? So it's not able to like hit anyone. And then I'm going to trim the tail on the other end. And make sure it's up nice and tight so it's not going to go in anyone's hand accidentally when they're working on it next. We haven't done any of those up yet. Everyone's super combative in the world at the moment. I don't just mean like Israel, Hamas, whatever. I mean like even on the street, so much road rage and people just like think that their problems are the most important thing. No one else's situation matters. That their point of view is right. Like this whole voice thing recently. It doesn't matter if you wanted to vote yes or vote no. Like friends fighting over it is not like, it's good to have a healthy debate about it for sure. But ending friendships and stuff over difference of opinion, that just isolates people more. It creates more negativity in the world. It pushes people who are of a different opinion back into their own little echo chamber and makes them less able to understand whatever point of view you're coming from. Any time that someone expresses a different opinion to you, that should be celebrated as an opportunity to learn more and to like debate, have an honest debate about point of view. Like, in my opinion, racism is not the right thing, but I want to understand why people are racist. In my point of view, the voice thing probably should have passed, but that's not to say that there aren't valid reasons on every side as to why it should or shouldn't go through. It's just to say that I have formed an opinion and that I can hold. Flat earthers aren't inherently, like, scientifically I believe that they're wrong, but there has to be something that has pushed them to come to that point. Does that make sense?
I think that's a very good thing to consider, and not a lot of people consider that when having discussions with other people. Everyone has their own truth, is something a really good psychologist once told me.
Yeah. Yeah, when I used to race go-karts, a lot of people would say, a lot of like stewards and marshals would say, you know, there's two versions of the truth. There's two versions of the truth in this situation, and my job is to find out, to meet in the middle, or to find out which one to meet in the middle of it all. That'll do. It's simple. And, like, I don't inherently believe in religion. I don't inherently believe that there is a God or there's not a God or whatever. I think most of the religious texts all mean to say the exact same thing. And the message that they're trying to spread is probably the correct message, which is don't be an asshole. Don't be horrible to the people around you. Like, what are the 10 Commandments? I don't know all of the 10 Commandments, and I don't know all of the Bible. But, like, don't covet thy neighbour. Don't be envious of what other people have. Enjoy your own little slice of paradise. Don't murder, don't steal, don't rob, don't... Like, all they're saying is just treat other people in a fair way. It's the same for, like... I was recently having a debate about different religions, and someone decided to show me the Church of Satanism's 7 core tenements. And inherently, they're quite agreeable. It's the exact same as the 10 Commandments of Catholics or Christianity. But people get so torn up in the fact that it's not their religion that they just need to fight wars about it. It's the same thing. Like, I think Satanism says you should have a right to choose what you want to do with your own body. And you should not harm other animals unless, like, it is a risk, a threat to your own life. How are you going to say that's a bad idea? I know this is like not something that you probably want your mechanic talking about, but I spend too much time by myself thinking about all the wrongs in the world and how if people just had a little bit of compassion, a lot of problems would go away.
I think compassion, like if I were to teach that to my future kids, it would be like the biggest life lesson for them is just to always, like at the end of the day, you yourself are not responsible for the emotional state of the other person, but understanding that there is potentially something underlying before getting angry or,
Yeah.
you know, it goes a long way.
I was road raged at gently the other day because the street where we live is really confusing. It looks like a one-way street, but our little section of it is a two-way street, which allows us to get back out to the other side of the block. But I was driving up that way the other day, and someone was yelling out the window, "Oh, it's a one-way street, you're wrong, it's a one-way street." And I tried to say, "Hey, no, it's a two-way street here. Like, just this bit is a two-way street." And they wanted to just continue on about how right they were. And my opinion is not. Like, why would I get angry at that? It's either miscommunication, misunderstanding, or just someone's having something else going on in their life.
I mean, I for the longest time thought it was a one-way street.
Yeah.
Until I had a look and there's actually no signage on that street that says it's one way except for just past your block.
Yeah, and there's also stop signs going in the other direction.
Exactly. Why would they be there if it wasn't a one-way street?
But the guy did not want to hear about it.
And sometimes you just got to accept that one of the biggest causes of conflict is really just trying to decide who's right or wrong.
That's the other thing that I've like taken a little bit of solace in over the last day or two with this other vehicle owner who's upset is it's like mentally I'm thinking about it and it's bumming me out a lot, but over the last 3 days and quite regularly actually, people say I really love having you as my mechanic, or I really love having your team come out and do the service on my car. Like it feels so much nicer to have someone who isn't incentivized or isn't like whatever. So I'm trying to like, you know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
What am I trying to say?
I mean, we have a face to the human fixing our car, whereas it's very not often if you go to a dealership or a workshop that you may actually deal with the person who works on your car. There's a bit more of a human aspect, I think, to this job.
Dealing with upset customers always makes you feel really bad about yourself. So you got to take a step back and realise that, you know, everyone makes mistakes. Even if this person is upset, there was actually 6 other people this week that said they were really happy to see you.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to see you today. I've been looking forward to this actually all week.
I have too. I wish it could have happened sooner. I wish I could
actually could have, because my part came very quickly, but we didn't know that. So
I wish that I could make enough money off of you to just work on your car. It's nice doing this sort of stuff. There are other people that that I do get the opportunity to like have this same relationship with, and I love that.
And we've had this kind of from the get-go. Hey, I think the first time you ever worked on my car, you chucked me underneath, and
yeah, well,
I got to learn a thing or two about my car.
We're friends instead of strictly customer mechanic relationship.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't necessarily have people in your life who can teach you this sort of skill, and it's a skill that is worth having.
I think I myself have become a lot more comfortable with my car since learning things. And
yeah,
I mean, previously I just left it in the hands of the people at the dealership, and I felt very frustrated when I felt like things weren't
here's the thing,
getting done.
do you think that those people actually ever like didn't do their job?
No, I definitely think they were doing their job.
So
but
the difference is,
how will I know if I'm not seeing the change?
The pure difference is that you like that
you at least get to see something.
You're now educated about it. You understand what's happening to your car as a part of the service, and that makes a big difference.
And sometimes cars just don't want to be fixed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this Porsche at the moment is getting torn down a lot further than
I was going to ask
first expected.
earlier when we were talking about Porsches, how is it going?
We've gotten to a point now where we know sort of how far we're going to have to tear it apart. And it looks like it's going a long way. So it's leaking from the left hand and the right hand cylinder head.
Poor old thing.
Now, this is not a job that I'd normally do, but this is a really good friend, customer, whatever you want to call. This car's really weird, this Porsche. The more I work on it, like it's frustrating a little bit to work on, but the more I work on it, the more I kind of appreciate the car as a whole. It's quite advanced for the years. So it's an 84, right?
Mm.
But because it's an enthusiast car, you can still kind of get a lot of parts for it.
It's an automatic as well.
4-speed, transaxle. You know what that means?
No, explain.
Transmission and axle combined at the rear of the car, which gives it a even better weight balance. And strangely, since I've started working on this car, I've been getting lots of YouTube videos about how cool they are.
That's cool.
Very funny. Remember we said we weren't meant to do it this way?
What do you mean?
Remember we said you shouldn't pull upwards?
Oh, yep. Are you just being lazy?
No, the wheels like slightly turn to the left.
Oh, okay.
So if I put it on the back, it would want to hit the body.
Yeah. Oh, yep. That makes sense. Just not a thing to make a habit of.
No. But we do things when we're in situations.
Hi, I'm Erin from Kashy. It sounds so wrong.
There's no need to be so, like, depressed looking. Alright, give it your red hot shot.
Hi, I'm Erin from Kashy, and I'm going to attempt to restore my headlights. Do I remember how to do it? Sort of. We have plastics. I think that's what it's called.
Yep,
It is a plastic polish.
that's correct.
Yeah. And so we want to apply plastic polish to a rag and give it a scrub.
Okay, go on.
Yeah? In circular motions.
Wow. I've never seen someone look so uncomfortable about a thing.
This is
Oh my god. What are you doing? It's got a pour nozzle on it.
It does.
Oh, before we have a disaster. That's $30 a bottle, that stuff now.
Okay.
You only need 4 drops.
4 drops. I'm gonna probably screw this up then.
Bundle up the rag nice and tight.
This is why I have you. $30 a bottle. It's not too bad.
No, flip it all the way upside down and put a little bit on there.
I'm just wiping off this bit of gunk. One,
Come on,
2,
Erin.
3, 4.
Maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more. That's getting close.
Okay, a bit more.
It'll do.
That good?
Yeah.
Rightio. Now that I finally got that correct, we're all learning here. We do the circular motions.
Yep. Dab the polish
Should
all
I
over.
start from the inside and work my way out?
Do
or?
whatever, just dab it along the entire lens.
So,
There we go. Yeah, it's nice and spread out and it's not going to like spray everywhere. And then nice heavy rubs. All the way along. And if you feel like it's drying up, we can always put a bit more polish on, right?
I think we'll need to do that.
It's not really polishing up too well this time. Maybe it's coming to the end of its life.
This poor old car.
It's alright, I already know what new headlight assemblies are worth. They're not that expensive.
Hyundais are pretty good like that, actually. I know my Gets, we had to replace the whole assembly of one of my tail lights. And it was only like $75.
For a second-hand one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to my father who had a Pajero Sport at the time. If you know what those headlights look like, they're pretty funky. It was like 300 and something per tail light. Mind you, that could have been brand new as well. I'm not sure if I'm doing a good job of this, but
No, you're not. But I'd rather let you do your own thing.
Well, can you give me some tips and tricks, because I'm not a pro.
You want to watch me do one?
Yeah.
Alright, let's swap. Here. Dab, 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 dab. Nice firm pressure.
Ah, so not circular motion.
I'm just spreading it out. Nice firm pressure still. Circular motions. See, it's gone dry. More polish. Stay. And then we find a nice clean bit of rag, dry bit of rag. Give it a little swipe off. Now, why hasn't this made as much of an improvement as it used to?
Because the plastic is old and worn.
The oxidation has gone deeper into the plastic, so while it's improving it, it's not making it 100%. There you go. Repeat the process. Make sure you get all the way out to the outer edge as well. There you go. Find a nice clean bit of rag. Wipe them all off.
Wipe it off.
Yeah, I think so. It's not 100%, but I would say it's at least 85. Feel that roughness that's in there still?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's deeper into the lens.
It looks a little bit better at least.
Yeah. And then you want to do my little trick to help keep them for a little bit longer.
Get some silicone spray.
Yep. Yep. That'll do.
And then the other side?
Yeah, I'll do this one. Oh, you. There's no more. Where is there? No. Alright, back to your outro.
That'll have to do. And that's how you restore headlights with plastics. Thanks again. I'm Erin from Kashy.
Yeah,
That was just a full-on satire.
Wow. You might actually be able to tell the difference with this.
I'm so keen to drive it myself.
Alright.
There's nothing more. Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah, you drive.
Have you done all the checks you want to do, or do you want me to just...
No, I think so.
Hoping that's not going to pick up a bunch of noise on the microphone. I can kind of tell the difference, yeah.
It just feels a bit tighter.
It does, it does.
Once again, I'm Lachlan from Kashy, and that's all the follow-ups on Erin's Hyundai Elantra. Check in with us next time when we do something else on a car.